Assalamu alaikum students. Welcome to another lecture of our English essay lecture series. Uh, Before this lecture, we have discussed the general structure of the essay at a very brief level. Then we discussed how to structure a formal outline as per FPSC requirements. Okay, as per what the examiner sees. I mean, students use variety of tabulation techniques and all other things. They do a mixture of topic outline, sentence outline. We have discussed all this in our previous lecture. So in the second lecture we discussed in detail as to how to formulate a formal outline. Remember, there is a proper pattern to formulating an outline, and we discussed this in the previous lecture. So in today's lecture, what we are going to discuss is how to write an introductory paragraph. Okay, in the first lecture we just talked about the basic structure of an essay, that it contains an introduction, then it contains a body, and lastly it contains a concluding paragraph. And we touched upon introduction at a very cursory level. But today we are going to discuss the introductory paragraph in a detailed manner. So moving on, structure of an essay, as I discussed, that an essay in CSS comprises of three main parts. Number one, an introductory paragraph. Number two, a body paragraph. The body of the essay, sorry, which consists of at least 15 paragraphs in your CSS exam. And lastly, a concluding paragraph. So this is the basic structure of an essay in CSS. Now, introductory paragraph, as you know, that it consists of two parts. Okay, there's a bifurcation of introductory paragraph. It's not just that you get a topic and you start writing everything that comes to your mind. No, there is a proper methodology to writing an introduction in CSS essay. So we start off with general statements. Okay, in general statements, we introduce the general topic of the essay. And why do we do that? To capture the reader's interest. In the next slides, I will tell you what are the techniques to capture the examiner's interest. But for now, just keep in mind that the purpose of general statements is twofold. Number one, to introduce the general topic of the essay. Remember, general topic. And secondly, to capture the examiner's interest. Now, let's suppose the topic is it's a topic of your past papers. Is democracy no more vulnerable in Pakistan? Okay, so in that topic, democracy is the general topic. Okay, the topic suggests that we are going to write something about democracy. Okay, now democracy, the word democracy is a very broad term. You can write anything about democracy, like it is the best form of government. Okay, it is a consensus based form of government, anything. But what specific thing are we going to write about in that particular essay? That will be defined by the thesis statement. Okay, the thesis statement narrows down the scope of your essay. Let's suppose this area represents democracy. Okay, now there are various aspects of democracy, but you have to narrow down your scope to of your topic. And what will be your scope of the topic in this essay? Once again, the topic was, is democracy no more vulnerable in Pakistan? So the specific topic about democracy would be no more vulnerable. Okay, now this is the controlling idea of your topic. Okay, this will limit the scope of your general topic. Now democracy is a general topic in that particular case of your essay. Now, either it is vulnerable or not, that is the specific topic. It limits the scope. Now, it is clear that what you have to write about democracy is here. Rest, it doesn't matter what is democracy. Okay, so you have narrowed it down, your scope of the essay. This is what you're going to write about, that either it is vulnerable or not. So we start off generally by introducing the general topic or the main topic, which in that particular case was democracy, and then we narrow it down. Okay, increasingly narrow it down. We don't have to jump all of a sudden at the thesis statement. I will share in an introductory paragraph with you that will make it further clarify what do I mean by slowly narrow it down to the thesis statement. Now look at what is thesis statement. What does thesis statement do? It states the specific topic, that is either it is vulnerable or not. Number two, it lists subtopics or subdivisions. Okay. Now let's suppose the topic is about energy crisis. Okay. And we are, or the topic is, let's suppose, about effects of energy crisis. Now in the thesis statement, we can write that the effects of energy crisis are manifold, like social effects, political effects, economic effects. So sometimes the thesis statement is also used to subdivide your topics. If you're not getting this topic 100%, and you will get it while I move on to the next slide. So for now, just keep in mind the purpose of thesis statement. Sometimes the thesis statement indicates the pattern of organization. For example, if our essay is about energy crisis, then we can write causes, effects, then recommendations. So the thesis statement can tell about the pattern of organization, how our essay is going to be organized. And it is normally the last sentence in the introductory paragraph. But this is where students often get confused. They say that, okay, we have to tell everything about our specific topic in the last sentence. I say no. Remember this in mind. You start off generally with the general topic, and then you increasingly narrow down to your thesis statement. And all of this area or these sentences could be a thesis statement. Okay, why? Because you're slowly and gradually narrowing down to your specific topic, that is either democracy is vulnerable or not, and that was your main topic of democracy. Now you could start off by talking about any aspect of democracy, okay, but ultimately you will narrow it down to your thesis. What is the thesis statement? It is basically the main crux of your essay, the main stance which you have taken, okay, the thesis of your essay, the main proposition of your essay. And in this case, the main proposition of your essay is either it is vulnerable or not. What is vulnerable or not? Democracy. So the main thesis, the crux of your essay is going to be, you will be taking a stance and you will be proving it. And your stance could be, you could be on any side of the fence. You could argue that no, democracy is no more vulnerable, or you could say that no, democracy is still vulnerable. But the thing is that you have to take a stance in your thesis statement, and then you have to by strength then you have to, sorry, defend your stance. And how you do that? By providing various statistics, quoting different authorities, giving citing different examples. There are a lot of ways. I will discuss all those in the next lectures. So for now, just keep in mind that our introductory paragraph is like this. It's like a funnel. It starts off generally with the main topic, and then it narrows down to the thesis statement. And what was thesis statement? It was basically the main crux, the main proposition, the main stance of your essay. Okay, now moving on. Here, uh, an introductory paragraph is funnel shaped. Okay, we can also call it inward pyramid. Okay, a pyramid. This is an inward pyramid. Okay, it's the introductory paragraph starts off generally and it narrows down to our thesis statement here. Okay, so you can basically, if you want to visualize your introductory paragraph, you can visualize it by stating that either it is a funnel shape or it is inward pyramid. Now, how can you start off your introductory paragraph generally and make it attractive too? Okay, so there are various techniques, various attention getting techniques to start your introductory paragraph. Now I will be sharing these techniques with you. You can start off your essay with a dramatic, interesting, or funny anecdote. Okay, you can start off with some surprising statistics or facts, or you can start off by giving some historical background about the topic. So these are just a few techniques. I will be sharing more of these, but these are the main techniques which you can keep in mind. I will be sharing more techniques of how you can start an introductory paragraph, which basically makes your essay or your paper stand out from among the rest of the lot. I mean, the examiner is going to be marked 10,000 sheets, so you have to give the examiner something very interesting right from the outset, so that he goes about checking your paper with a positive mindset. Okay, he might feel that, okay, this is a candidate, a potential candidate who can make it. Okay, so you have to make sure right from your introductory paragraph that the examiner goes about checking your essay with a positive mindset. Okay, and how you can make sure that he has that mindset by starting your introductory paragraph in some attention getting way, and these are the main ways to get the attention of the examiner. But there are many other ways, and I will be sharing those with you also. Moving on. So, funnel introduction, as I talked about that, it begins with general statements about the topic, and then it become increasingly focused on the topic. Remember, the word is increasingly. It means that it slowly and gradually narrows down to your thesis statement, and of course it ends with your thesis statement. Okay, so once again, that shape I draw, remember, it's not like this. Okay, that this is general statement and you all of a sudden jump to your thesis statement. No, that would irritate the examiner, that you were writing something generally about democracy, and then all of a sudden you said that democracy is no more vulnerable in Pakistan. Now think of it yourself. would you like would you like to see such a write up? No, you would want to want to read a write up which is basically smooth. It transitions from general to specific in a very smooth manner. Like, you read an editorial in a newspaper, you never feel that there is a gap between paragraphs. There is always a connection between paragraphs. Okay, so in the likewise manner, there have to be some connection between the sentences in your introductory paragraph, and that is what we call increasingly focused on the topic. It narrows down, but gradually. It doesn't jump from general to specific. So that is what I was talking about. Funnel, a funnel shaped. Broadly, it starts from general statements and then it narrows down to thesis statement. So this is an example of a funnel introduction, what I was talking about. Just go through this. So I presume that you have read the entire paragraph. So this is an example. Okay, just to make the concepts clear. This is an example of an introductory paragraph. Let's suppose. Okay, the topic of the essay could be like the importance of studying maths. Okay, I'm just making the topic up. Okay, I'm pretty sure this sort of essay won't show up in your exams, but the lines in the italics, they are basically general statements. Okay, before coming to my thesis statement, which in this case would be the importance of studying maths, which are underlined, I have started off by discussing in general about the courses which students take in school, and that there is no relationship between their classes, their courses, and the real world outside. Okay, but since my topic is importance of studying mathematics, I narrowed it down that one course, maths, is very valuable. However, okay, therefore all the students should be required to take at least 4 years of mathematics. So I started off generally by talking about different courses in general and their lack of application in the real world. And then I came to my specific thesis statement. Now, in the rest of the essay, of course, I would be proving, okay, that what I have maintained in the introductory paragraph, that is, maths is very useful, I would be proving it in my essay, let's suppose in 10 to 15 paragraphs, giving examples, quoting examples, okay, like why maths is important, how maths is important. Now, I have made a statement that maths is very, applicable in your real life, okay, and students should take it. But now, once I have taken the stance, I have to back that stance. Okay, and how I will be doing this? By writing body paragraphs. Body paragraphs are basically used to prove your point. Okay, so for now, just keep in mind this. Moving on, as just told you that I would be sharing more of techniques how to start an introductory paragraph or how to start an attention getting introductory paragraph. Okay, sometimes you use the terminology the hook statement. Okay, a hook statement is a statement or a sentence which captures the interest of the reader, and in our case the examiner. Okay, so just read it. The introduction of your essay, usually one paragraph, that is 200 to 400 words. Okay, in CSS exam, and rarely more than two. No, you don't have to write two. Okay, you only have to write it in one paragraph. Introduces your subject. Okay, it creates interest and states your thesis. Okay, so the things I talked about, that the general statements in the introductory paragraph would introduce your subject, and the thesis, the when it becomes increasingly narrow, it states your thesis or your thesis statement. But there is a third element, that introductory paragraph should also be, arousing interest. It should tickle the curiosity of the examiner. Okay, it should make the examiner, crave. Okay, I'm using the word crave, that the examiner should be craving to read your essay, rest of the essay. I mean, it shouldn't be a boring one that the examiner says, okay, just I will just glaze over it and hand this candidate 20 marks or 25 or even 39, but I won't be passing it. Okay, so you should be looking for your introductory paragraph that it should arouse the interest of the examiner. If you have done that, then I'm this I can say this with conviction, that 50% of your essay is pass. Okay, now that you have tickled the curiosity of the examiner, he would be looking for things, just to look for confirmation that you know either to hand this candidate 40 marks or not. Okay, so this is very important. The introduction is very important. You can use a variety of strategies to introduce an essay and engage your readers or examiners interest. Now these are some techniques, I might say. You can start off with a dramatic or interesting anecdote. Anecdote means a short story or something like that. So you can begin your essay with an anecdote. Okay, that leads readers to your thesis. This is very, very important. Students, I have seen students, you know trying to start off with a very interesting and dramatic story, but they fail to make the connection. They don't they are unable to relate that story to their thesis statement. So this sort of introductory paragraph, it's a bit tricky one. Okay, you can come up with a very brilliant story, a dramatic story, but it won't help you, it won't do you any good if you can't relate the story back to your thesis statement. Now this technique is mostly used in literary and proverbial essays. Okay, but since it can get tricky, I would say it's my suggestion. Okay, but it's up to your sweet discretion, that I would say that you can avoid it. It's better for you to avoid it. But having said that, if you feel that you can do it, all good. Okay, for example, if an topic of the essay is a bird in hand is worth two in the bushes, so you can start off by relating any story about someone or something. But before you start off writing that, you have to make sure that you will be able to relate the story back to your thesis statement. Otherwise, all that dramatic or interesting introduction would amount to naught. Okay, so this was one of the methods of trying to start your introductory paragraph, which catches the examiner's interest. Secondly, you can arouse the examiner's interest or tickle his curiosity by stating a surprising statistic or fact. Let's suppose the topic of the essay is the hazards of a nuclear war, or let's suppose the topic can be, can the world afford another nuclear war, something along those lines. Okay, so you can start off your essay by writing some very by giving the examiner some very surprising statistics or fact. Here I have written one such sentence. You can come up with any other. Believe me, this isn't the only sentence. Okay, but let's read it. It took over 60 million lives and complete annihilation of two cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, for the world to come to the terms that the world cannot afford another nuclear war. Now imagine this being the first sentence of your introductory paragraph. Isn't it uh, an eye-catching sentence? It- uh, we have given the examiner a statistic, okay, a fact basically, and we have given him the example of two cities, and we have start right from the outset we have conveyed a message to the examiner, okay, by giving him a statistic that we can't afford a nuclear war, okay. So this is another way of starting your essay, by giving him some interesting stats or facts. A third method is we can start off by giving some background information about the topic. Let's suppose the topic is about extremism or terrorism, okay. Now it can come up from any angle, okay. The examiner can ask you from any example about extremism or terrorism. Now you can start by giving some background that extremism took its roots in the Pakistani society back in the Soviet jihad, and then it manifested or morphed into terrorism after 9/11 and all that thing. So you can also start your introductory paragraph by giving a background information, okay. Another way is you can pose a question or you can introduce a quotation, okay. Posing a question, this is once again a very interesting way to start off your essay, okay. Let's suppose the topic I'm carrying, the same topic is democracy no more vulnerable in Pakistan, and you can start off with a quest by posing a question like, it is often I'm just making it up, you can make up your own, okay. It is often argued that either democracy has finally gained a firm footing in Pakistan, or is it still reeling from pillar to post? Okay, the now question mark. Okay, now that will tickle the examiner's curiosity. The examiner would want to read more about that. Okay, once you have posed a question at him, now he would be looking for the answer in your introductory paragraph. So once again, by posing a question, you tickle the examiner's curiosity. Then another way is to introduce a quotation, okay. But let me tell you one thing about quotations. You should only write quotations if they are related to your topic, okay. Like if the topic is democracy is no more vulnerable in Pakistan, and you have a quote coming up which is related to democracy, but which is not related to the topic, like vulnerability or something like that. So you shouldn't be putting that quote, okay. You should only be putting the quote if it is related to the topic, and not because you have crammed up some quotes and you can recall them at the while sitting in the examination hall, and there is a tendency or a penchant to you know to put that quote somewhere and you put it in your introductory paragraph. No, you shouldn't be doing that. You should only put a quote if it is making sense, if it is related to the topic, okay. Moving on, you can also start off with a definition, but there is a caveat to it, there is a subtlety to it. First, let's read it. You can introduce an essay with your own original definition of a relevant term or concept, where the meaning of a specific term is crucial. Now, let me give you an example. Now, if the topic is, let's suppose the same topic is democracy no more vulnerable in Pakistan. Now, you don't have to give a definition, typical definition that democracy is government of the people, for the people, by the people. Now, that would make it very redundant and boring, because believe me, 70% of the candidates, they would be starting this essay like this, okay. So that won't make your essay look any more eye catching than those, okay. So dictionary definitions which are banal or repetitive are never recommended. However, you can always come up with your original definition where the meaning of a specific term is crucial. Remember, crucial. You should only adopt this approach while the meaning is crucial. Like, let's suppose the topic is from your past papers, uh, gender equality is not a third world issue. Now, here, first you have to clarify to the examiner, what do you mean by gender equality, okay. Now, some students will you know define the scope of their essay by only picking up two genders, male and female. Okay, some will also include other genders, and then they will talk about gender equality. So in this sort of essay, it becomes crucial, okay, just to clarify to the examiner, what are you talking about when it comes to gender equality? Do you mean only two genders, or do you mean rest of the genders also? So this is very important in this instance, because that definition will define the scope of your essay. Now, if a student has gone about on, if his essay is revolving around two genders and he has ignored rest of the genders, and if he has jotted his thought process in a very organized manner, and he has conveyed to the examiner about the topic in a very clarified, coherent manner, then he will make it. Similarly, if the candidate has introduced other genders also, and provided that he has presented his argument in a very sound manner, he will also make it. So it doesn't matter what your definition is in such sort of situations. Okay, so you have to clarify to the examiner where this the definition is crucial to defining the scope of your essay. Okay, so and you shouldn't be starting off every essay with by giving some definition. Only do it when it is needed. It is crucial to making the things clear, okay, that where should your essay be, where what should be the boundaries of your essay. You can Another approach is to you can start your essay with a contradiction. Okay, you can open your essay with an idea that most people believe is true, and then gets the reader's attention by showing that it is inaccurate or ill-advised. Okay, now taking the same topic, like is gender equality a myth, let's suppose. Okay, now you can start with a contradiction. Like, let's suppose you can say that most people believe that in the 21st century gender equality is no more an issue. Okay, you can start like this, that gender equality is no more an issue. I mean, women are treated on an equal footing. Okay, back in the history, there used to be a huge gender gap, but then you can write the contradiction over there. Okay, like, but despite this widely held belief, if we go to the nitty gritty of this issue, we will find that gender inequality is found at every stage in our society, at every level in our society. So you have started with a contradiction. Once again, this will tickle the examiner's curiosity. Okay, he would want to read more. That, okay, if there is a widely held belief and this candidate is basically opposing that widely held belief, then let's read his essay, what he has to say about that particular topic. Remember, this is just an example which I gave you. It could be any other topic. Okay, it could be any other contradiction. Like, if most of the people believe in something, okay, in some any it could be anything, but you are contradicting it, okay, in your second sentence. Now the examiner would want to know that, okay, this student has got something different. Now let's read his essay. So this is also an example to arouse the curiosity of your examiner. Now, what not to do in introduction, once again, very, very important. Don't apologize to the examiner, okay? What do I mean by this is that never use phrases such as in my opinion or I may not be an expert, but. Because why shouldn't you do this? Because by doing so, you suggest that you really don't know your subject very well. I mean, if you say that, first of all, never use personal pronoun I we. Okay, now if and then secondly, I may not be an expert. Now this shows that you are not sure about your position, your stance. Okay, you yourself has you don't have clarity of mind, then how can you convey the examiner? Okay, and secondly, you should never ever write this, in my opinion, because the examiner knows, it is implied that the essay you're writing is basically your own opinion. Okay, you don't have to tell him that, in my opinion. The examiner knows that it is your opinion. Okay, so don't be apologetic. Don't never ever be apologetic in your essay, in your introduction, especially in your introduction, because that is where you have to convey to the examiner your stance in black and white. Simple as that. Okay, secondly, don't begin with a dictionary definition. I just discussed this. Okay, avoid beginning an essay with phrases like according to Webster's dictionary, Okay, or even if you don't mention the name of the dictionary for that sake, never, I wouldn't, it won't be wrong if you state a dictionary meaning, but I won't recommend it, because once again, the purpose of introduction, one of the purposes of introduction is to make your introductory paragraph stand out from the rest of the lot. Okay, so I would advise that you avoid using dictionary definition. So, what I was saying is that you should never use dictionary. You should never start your essay by stating some dictionary definition. Okay. Now, why? Because this sort of introduction is overused and trite. That is boring. So, even if you do want to start off with a dictionary, develop your own. Like I just said, that gender equality is a myth. Okay. Now, there you have to describe gender equality, you have to define gender equality, but you have to do it in your own words. Why do you do it in your own words? You want to define the scope of your essay. You want to make it clear to the examiner where your essay will be headed. Okay, so that is why. Another approach, so one more thing which you should never do in your introductory paragraph is don't announce what you intend to do. Okay, what I mean by this is that never ever begin with phrases such as in this paper I will, or the purpose of this essay is so. Okay, why? Because it is obvious that when you write the thesis statement, it makes it obvious to the examiner what you are going to write in this essay, what will be the purpose of this essay, what stance you are going to take. Okay, when you write your thesis statement, then it is implied, okay, that what you're going to write. You don't have to write phrases like the purpose of this essay, or in this paper I will discuss about the causes, effects. No, you don't have to write, you don't have to start off with phrases like this. Okay, lastly, use your introduction to create interest in your topic and let the examiner discover your intention when they get to your thesis statement. So that is very crucial. When the examiner reaches the end of your introductory paragraph, he should be 100% clear about the intention, about the stance which you are going to take. If he has read the entire introductory paragraph and if he is still not sure about your thought process, about what you're thinking, about what your views are about the topic, then believe me, the examiner won't be satisfied with you, even if he reads your whole essay. Okay, so moving on. A thesis statement. I just keep reiterating this because this is what that defines the scope of your essay. Now, what is the importance of thesis statement? It is the most important sentence in the introduction. Why? Because it tells the examiner what is going to be the scope of your essay. Secondly, it states the specific topic of the essay. Let's suppose democracy is no more vulnerable in Pakistan. A thesis statement would be stating the specific topic, that is, either it is vulnerable or not, depending upon the stance you are taking. Sometimes it also lists the subtopics that will be discussed in the body of the essay. For example, if the essay is about energy crisis or effects of energy crisis, then in the thesis statement you will be mentioning some of the main subtopics like economic, like energy crisis has effects, in the economic, social, and all those domains, something along those lines. And the thesis statement sometimes also indicates the pattern of organization, that is how your essay will flow from start till the end. I will give you examples of all these things and it will be clear to you what I mean by this. Now, why it is the most important sentence? Because it tells the reader about the scope of your essay. Let's suppose this is a thesis statement. Mughal culture in India has made many valuable contributions to modern Pakistani society. Now, the main topic here is Mughal culture in India. But what is the specific topic? What is the thesis statement? What are we going to talk about the Mughal culture in India? That is going to be our thesis statement, and that will define the scope of our essay. I mean, let's suppose once again, all of this is, you know, a data or every literature or even anything about Mughal culture in India. But here, that will be the scope of our essay. That is, we will be writing about valuable contributions of Mughal culture to modern Pakistani society. So this is the most important statement because that is what this defines the scope of our essay. Another example, the large movement of people from rural to urban areas has major effects on cities. Okay, now this states that the urbanization has major effects on cities. Our main topic was urbanization, but what specifically we are going to talk about urbanization is its effects on cities. I hope it is uh, clear that what do I mean? What do I mean when I say that thesis statement is the most important sentence or sentences, 3 to 4 sentences of your essay, because they define the scope of your essay. Sometimes the thesis statement lists the subtopics that will be discussed in your essay. Like carrying on with the same example, Mughal culture in India has made many valuable contributions to modern Pakistani culture, particularly in the areas of language, art, architecture, and government. Now we have given the examiner some main points also, some subtopics also that the examiner should be expecting in our essay, okay, in the body of our essay. So this is also one way of putting the thesis statement, that you write some, not all the topics, not all the subtopics, but the main subtopics. Okay, of course your essay will be discussing much more than this, but you have given the examiner a flavor, as to what to expect in your essay. Now, moving on, carrying on with the same thesis statement, the effects of urbanization, we have stated some effects of urbanization like housing, employment, and adequate sanitation facilities. Okay, but remember, there is I want to make one thing clear. Now, this may be off the topic, but effects. Remember, whenever I have checked many write-ups, and when the words like effects and implications come, student often associate negative connotations with such words. Now, effects and implications can be both positive and negative. Okay, so never ever assume that these are the terms which have negative connotations attached to them. No, never. Okay, so this was the second aspect of our thesis statement. Now, sometimes thesis statement indicates the pattern of organization that the essay will follow. For example, now all these things, sometimes the thesis statement will state the subtopic, sometimes it will indicate the pattern of organization. It will depend from the nature of the topic. Okay, it will vary from topic to topic depending upon the nature of the topic. Now let's suppose the essay is on difference between presidential and parliamentary form of government. Now we can write a thesis statement which states that there are several differences between the presidential form of government and parliamentary form of government. Now the examiner knows that the student will be writing something about the differences between the two forms of government. Okay, so this has given the examiner a pattern of organization. Like we can also say, you can also say that in an essay the examiner would be expecting the effects of energy crisis, then the implications, and then the recommendations. So that is also an indication of the pattern of organization of the essay. So this is very important. Now, okay, now I want your focused attention. Okay, the common thesis statement pitfalls which the students make. Okay, now for time being, just remember that these are the three key mistakes which students make. The thesis is too general. That is, it doesn't define the scope of your essay like this. It is just vague patch. Okay, the examiner doesn't know what you're going to write about. Okay, let's suppose if the topic is democracy is no more vulnerable in Pakistan, or is gender equality a myth, you haven't basically given the examiner, you haven't structured the scope of your essay, or you haven't tell the examiner in a closed manner what you're going to write about. So a general. Second problem is that the thesis makes a simple announcement, and the third is that it states an obvious fact. I will relate these things with examples, and you will be pretty comfortable afterwards. Now, the first problem we discussed is the thesis is too general. Okay. Now, let's suppose this is a thesis statement. A college education is a good investment. The examiner won't be very happy because you haven't told him a college education is a good investment. But in what ways? Okay. You haven't given the examiner anything in a closed manner that what the examiner should expect. Okay. Now, here, a college education is a good investment for 4 reasons. Now, the examiner knows that he would be expecting 4 reasons as to why college education is a good investment. Another example, lasers are very useful. Now, once again, a very, very broad and too general thesis statement. What is the improved version of this is that lasers have several applications in industry and medicine. Now, that is a specific thesis statement. Examiner will know that the student will be discussing industrial applications of laser technology and its applications in the field of medicine. So the student has given the examiner the scope of his essay. What would be the, the main crux or the main thesis or the main, you can say, the fulcrum around which his essay would rotate. Okay. Now, coming on to the second problem or the second mistake which students make while writing the thesis statement is that they make a simple announcement. Now, let's suppose if the topic is, once again, I'm using the same topic. Why? Because it will make you easy to follow. I mean, the main aim here is to clarify the concepts. So the democracy is no more vulnerable in Pakistan. Now, you have stated in the thesis statement that democracy in Pakistan is safe, and you haven't given the examiner anything else. The examiner might say, I don't agree with you. The examiner might be of a view that democracy is still vulnerable in Pakistan, keeping in view the current conditions. So you have to give the examiner something, okay? So that just after reading your introductory paragraph, the examiner, you should be able to develop, yeah, a positive mindset in the examiner, that this student has some knowledge that if he has made an announcement democracy is safe in Pakistan, then the student has something to prove. Now, this is an improved version. Democracy in Pakistan is safe because of an increasingly independent media, independent judiciary, an active and vocal civil society, and an increasing literacy rate. So now the examiner would know that, okay, if the student has made this announcement or if he has taken this stance, then he has some backup knowledge stuff which he is going to write in his essay, and now he will be reading your essay. Okay, just to see that whether you have been able to prove your stance or not. So you have to give it to the examiner something in your thesis statement. Okay, it shouldn't be just a plain announcement. The last mistake which the candidates make in their essay is that they state an obvious fact, like sometimes, that the population of Pakistan is increasing. Now, this is an obvious fact, everybody knows it. So, what particular thing you are going to write about the increased population growth rate in Pakistan? Are you going to talk about, let's suppose, the population growth rates of men and women? Are you going to talk about the population growth rate of youth? Okay, it could be anything under the umbrella of population growth rate in Pakistan. So you have to specify the scope in your thesis statement right at the end of your introductory paragraph, that what are you going to write about the issue of population growth. So here is an improved version of a thesis statement. The population of Pakistan is increasing because of the following factors: lack of women empowerment, high illiteracy, lack of family planning, and ineffectual government policies. Now the examiner knows that what you are going to talk about, the problem of increasing population growth in Pakistan, you will be talking about the factors which contribute to increased population growth in Pakistan. Now you have given him 4 factors. Okay, you would be of course writing more, but you have given him 4 main factors. Now the examiner knows, he knows what to expect in your essay. You would be writing what you should be writing about the main topic, which is population growth. You would be writing about the underlying factors which result in an increasing population growth. Okay, I hope these have made the concepts clear. Now, logical division of ideas. An essay is nothing but, in simple words, a logical division of ideas. Okay, you are given a topic, you brainstorm. Okay, you several different ideas come up about a topic, and then you divide them in a logical manner in the order of importance. Okay, excuse me. and then you jot them down on a piece of paper, and that actually is your essay. Okay, now what is the key to logical division of your ideas in the essay? The three keys to logical division of ideas in your essay: number one, divide your topic into subtopics and discuss each subtopic in a separate paragraph. Okay, I'll discuss it later on when I discuss in detail the body of the essay, but for the time being, just keep in mind that one paragraph is equal to one idea. Okay, now when you have taken a stance, you prove your stance through different body paragraphs, but in one paragraph you should only be taking one idea. Okay, so if you are elaborating or opening your essay in a step by step manner by stating ideas in one paragraph, second paragraph, and that is a good approach to the logical division of your ideas. Secondly, how can you achieve logical division of your ideas? By writing a thesis statement that indicates that logical division. For example, in the previous examples, we said that the population of Pakistan is increasing because of this. Okay, now that gives the examiner the indication as to how your essay will proceed, what would be the logical division of your ideas. And lastly, how can you make the logical division of your ideas effective? Remember, effective. You can use this by using transitions between paragraph to guide the examiner from one paragraph to another. Now I have a separate lecture dedicated to this, but just to keep in mind that your essay, when you are going from one paragraph to another, it should be smooth. Okay, like this. You shouldn't be jumping from one idea to another. You should be using transitions. Now what are the transitions? I will be discussing in more detail when I come to the body of the essay in a separate lecture. For now, remember that in order for your logical division of ideas to be smooth and effective, you should be using transitions. And what are transitions? The words like however, and secondly, firstly, and there are many other techniques which can be used, which we'll discuss later on. Good thesis statement. So these two thesis statements basically indicate the logical division of ideas, as I was talking in the previous slide. Mughal culture in India has made valuable contributions to Pakistani culture in four main ways. Now this is depicting the logical division of your ideas. My essay in this instance will be divided into six main parts. You can say introduction, four body paragraphs, each describing one different aspect, and then a concluding paragraph. This is made clear to the examiner that how my essay will be logically divided. This is also another example. Okay, Mughal culture. Now here I have also given the examiner in my thesis statement the four main areas which I will be talking about in my essay. Okay. So transitions between paragraph. Sorry, I as I told you that essay is nothing but logical division of your ideas, and there were three ways, and one way to make the logical division of your ideas, to make the logical division effective and smooth, was to use transitions between paragraphs. And what are transitions? These are basically ways to link the paragraphs. Okay, different body paragraphs of your essay. Okay, so the transitions could be single words, they could be a phrase, or they could be a dependent clause that repeats or summarizes the preceding paragraph. I will illustrate each of these with an example so that you get the concept. So let's suppose I'm talking, I'm continuing with the same topic about population growth in Pakistan. Okay. Now let's suppose after introduction, this is my first paragraph. Okay. This is just a made up essay, just to make the concept clear. Now, my first paragraph will start by one way to address the problem of population explosion in Pakistan is to empower the women. Okay, this is my first sentence. Now I have used a transition word. Okay, and then let's suppose this is my second paragraph of that essay. I have written another ways to increase literacy rate. Now remember, how is it transitioning from first paragraph to second paragraph? This one way indicates to the examiner that okay, this is the first factor which I am going to discuss. Now in the second paragraph, I have written the transition word another way. This means that I have already discussed one other way, one another, one another cause of the population explosion somewhere else, and where I have discussed that in the preceding paragraph. Now this word another way basically indicates to the examiner, so it makes the transition smooth from one paragraph to another. Now some students say that in order to make the transition smooth between paragraphs, shouldn't they be introducing the new idea which they are going to discuss in the second paragraph at the end of the preceding paragraph? Now remember, this methodology is also used, okay, but this can get complicated for the students who are writing, who are beginners at writing English essays. Why? Because once you have introduced a new idea which you're going to talk about in the next paragraph, you might not be able to sum it up, you might just keep on writing it. So the ideal way or the best way is to bring smooth transition by using transition words, phrases, or dependent clauses in the next paragraph. In one paragraph you should only be discussing one idea. You shouldn't be introducing second idea, because you would be overcomplicating the thing and creating difficulties for yourself. Okay, so this was the second paragraph. So in paragraph 1 and 2, remember, I have used transition words. Okay, and remember, there were three ways to transition between paragraphs, and in this instance, in paragraph 1 and 2, I have used words. Now I will be using phrase. Let's suppose, excuse me, this is the third paragraph of our essay, and I have started it with a transition. In addition to empowering women and increasing literacy rate, now this is a phrase. Okay, the line which is basically highlighted in yellow and is bold, this is paragraph number 3. Now how I have transitioned smoothly from paragraph to 2 to 3 is that I have once again reiterated the points which I have already discussed in my essay, that in addition to empowering women and increasing literacy rate, another way, okay, once again, is to reduce population growth. Another way to reduce population growth is to sensitize people to the concept of family planning. Now of course you will be writing different supporting sentences to how prove how sensitizing people can result in you know in result in checking the meteoric population growth. But the transition, just the focus here should be learning how to transition between paragraphs. Okay, so this was a third paragraph and I have used a phrase to transition to the third paragraph. Now moving on, let's suppose this is the fourth paragraph and I have started off with a clause. Here in the fourth paragraph I have written, however, the most effective way for the government to control the meteoric population growth is by enacting and implementing effective policies. Then you will write supporting sentences, but the first sentence is important. Now remember, how is this making the transition smooth from third to fourth paragraph? Is it is stating that however the most effective way. Now this particular three words, most effective way, they give a signal that we have discussed many other ways in our essay. Okay, and finally we are going to discuss the most effective way. So this is once again a technique of transitioning from one paragraph to another. Remember, it is saying however, the most effective way for the government to control. So it definitely implies that we have discussed other ways also, and this is one of the ways. So I hope that the concept is clear, that how we can transition smoothly from one paragraph to another. We shouldn't be jumping from one paragraph to another. We should be sailing from one paragraph to another smoothly. We should be guiding the examiner from one paragraph to another. Okay, so that will make your essay. Essay is all about expression, and these are the small things which make your writing expression attractive and eye catching. Okay, so that is all for today's topic. Today we discussed the introductory paragraph of the essay in detail, how to structure the introductory paragraph of the essay. Okay, what is the purpose of our thesis statement, what are the common pitfalls which students commit while writing their thesis statement. These are and lastly, how to transition smoothly between from one paragraph to another. These are the topics which we discussed in today's lecture. And in the next lecture, we will be discussing about the body of the essay. Once again, very important, because essay at the end of the day is about 15 to 17 or 14 to 17 body paragraphs that comprises an essay. Once again, the next lecture is also very, very important. Remember, you don't just write body paragraph like an introductory paragraph. There is a different methodology to writing a body paragraph. And in the next lecture, I will elaborate in detail.